My brothers and sisters, look around you. The world is asleep. It's asleep in comfort, in distraction, in the deep slumber of chasing dunya. The alarms are ringing, but they are alarms for the 9 to 5, for the morning rush, for the endless cycle of the everyday. But there is another alarm, one that rings in the deepest, darkest part of the night, an alarm that isn't set for the world, but for the soul. This is the call of Tahajjudd. And those who answer it, they're the 1%. They are not the 1% of wealth or fame, but the 1% of will, of faith, of divine connection. The choice to wake for Tahajjudd is, on its surface, a simple one. An alarm rings in the deep, quiet hours of the night, and a decision is made to rise or to rest. To the outside observer, it is a minor action, a mere data point in the routine of a devout life. But to the one who lies there in that liminal space between sleep and consciousness, it is anything but simple. This moment is a microcosm of the entire human struggle, a grand battlefield where the soul and the self, the devra and the nafs, engage in their most primal conflict. It is a choice that defines you not because it is easy, but precisely because it is so brutally, authentically difficult. Every human instinct, every biological imperative screams for the preservation of sleep. The body is heavy, the mind is foggy, the warmth of the covers is a siren song promising comfort and oblivion. To resist this is to go against the very grain of your physical being. It is a quiet rebellion against the tyranny of comfort, and in that rebellion, your true priorities are not just stated, they are screamed into the silence of the universe. This is the first and perhaps most profound declaration of the day. My spiritual commitment is greater than my physical comfort. This is not an abstract philosophical stance. It is a truth enacted with every muscle that aches as you sit up, with every foot that touches the cold floor. You are in that raw, unobserved moment, voting with your entire being for what matters most. You are proving to yourself, before you have proven it to anyone else, that your connection to the divine is not a fair weather friendship, not a convenience to be observed when you are well rested and life is calm. It is a non-negotiable pillar of your existence, so essential that you are willing to pay for it with the most valuable currency you possess in this drained and weary state, your rest. This choice echoes far beyond the prayer mat. The discipline forged in the cold crucible of 3 a.m. becomes a template for every other difficult decision you will face. When you have already conquered the mountain of your own fatigue, the smaller hills of daily life, the temptation to gossip, the urge to cut corners, the patience required to hold your tongue seems suddenly surmountable. You have built a core of self-mastery. You have looked your most base desire for ease directly in the eye and said, "Not today." This repeated victory creates a reservoir of inner strength. It tells you, in a voice that grows louder with each passing night, that you are not a slave to your impulses. You are the master of your will, a will that has been consciously and consistently aligned with a higher purpose. This is the antithesis of the passive life, the life lived on autopilot, reacting to stimuli and drifting on the currents of whim and distraction. The one who wakes for Tahajjud takes active, deliberate command of their life each day before the sun has even hinted at its arrival. They begin not as a reactor, but as an actor. They set the tone for their day through an act of profound submission, which is paradoxically an act of ultimate empowerment. And let us be clear about the nature of this spiritual commitment. It is not a transaction, a simple barter of sleep for blessings, though the blessings are undeniably abundant. It is about the quality of the connection itself. In the daylight hours, our worship, for all its sincerity, is often fragmented. It is squeezed between meetings, offered amidst the cacophony of family life, recited while part of our mind is already planning the next task. It is beautiful and accepted, but it is, by necessity, often a worship of integration. The worship of Tahajjud is different. It is a worship of isolation, of intentional separation. You leave the world of people and problems deliberately behind to enter a private audience with the King of Kings. There are no interruptions, no social expectations, no performative aspects. It is raw, unfiltered, and breathtakingly intimate. This commitment then is a commitment to authenticity. It is you at your most vulnerable and unadorned, standing before your Creator. The sleep in your eyes, the fumbling of your tongue, the quiet yearning of your heart, it is all laid bare. This is why the choice is so defining. It is a commitment to show up as you truly are, not as the curated self you present to the world, and to believe that in that stripped down, honest state, you are worthy of this unparalleled audience. You are choosing the real over the illusion, the sustainer over the sustenance, the eternal comfort over the temporary one. This nightly decision is the bedrock upon which a life of sincere, unwavering faith is built, one quiet, courageous choice at a time. The struggle itself is the training. This is a truth that every athlete, every artist, every warrior understands, and it is a truth that finds its most profound expression in the spiritual realm, in the pre-dawn battle for Tahajjudd. Forging mental and spiritual strength is not an abstract concept. It is a physiological and psychological process, a deliberate conditioning of the soul, much like the conditioning of a muscle. And the gymnasium for this divine fitness is the dark, quiet solitude of the night. Each time the alarm pierces the silence, a conflict is ignited. On one side stands the nafs, the lower self, with its entire arsenal of logical and seductive arguments. It whispers of the practical need for rest, of the long day ahead, of the fact that God is forgiving and merciful and will understand. It paints vivid pictures of the warmth of the bed, the comfort of the pillow, the sheer unreasonableness of this self. Imposed hardship. This is not a weak adversary. The nafs is cunning, and its pleas are rooted in the very real needs of the body you inhabit. To stand against it is not to deny the body's needs, but to assert the primacy of the soul's needs. This nightly confrontation is the repetition that builds spiritual muscle memory. The first time you win, it feels like a miracle. The 10th time, it feels like a difficult habit. The 100th time, it begins to feel like a part of your identity. You are no longer just someone who sometimes prays Tahajjud. You are becoming someone who wakes up for Tahajjud. The distinction is everything. The former is an action, the latter is a state of being. This consistent victory does something remarkable to the human psyche. It rewires your relationship with difficulty itself. When you have repeatedly chosen the harder, more righteous path in the face of overwhelming physical desire, other forms of hardship begin to lose their intimidating power. The difficult conversation you need to have at work, the patience required to deal with a trying relative, the resilience needed to face a financial setback. These challenges no longer appear as insurmountable obstacles. They are simply other arenas, other forms of the same fundamental struggle you have already mastered in its purest form. You have faced the enemy within and won, so the enemies without seem smaller, more manageable. This is the genesis of true, unshakable inner peace, not the absence of struggle, but the proven capacity to prevail within it. The tranquility, the sakuna, that descends during Tahajjud is not merely a feeling, it is the psychological reward for a battle hard won. It is the quiet confidence of a soldier who knows his own strength because he has been tested in the fire. This strength is not brittle or aggressive, it is a deep, resilient fortitude that allows you to bend without breaking, to remain centered when the winds of chaos blow. Furthermore, this forging process cultivates a quality that is exceedingly rare in the modern world, the ability to delay gratification in the most profound sense. We live in an age of instant everything, instant communication, instant entertainment, instant answers. Our neural pathways are being trained for immediacy. The act of Tahajjud is a radical act of counter-cultural conditioning. It is the ultimate delayed gratification. You are sacrificing an immediate, tangible, physical pleasure, the deep, restorative embrace of sleep, for a deferred, spiritual, and often intangible reward. You are trading a certainty of comfort for a faith-based investment in your connection to the divine. By doing this night after night, you are strengthening the neural pathways of patience, of trust, of long-term vision. You are teaching your entire being that the greatest rewards are not the ones that can be grasped immediately, but the ones that are built consistently and patiently over time. This spiritual discipline becomes the bedrock for every other form of discipline in your life. The ability to save money, to study for an exam, to build a business, to nurture a marriage, all of these require the same fundamental principle, sacrificing a smaller, immediate pleasure for a larger future good. The one who has mastered this principle in the darkness of the night has already won half the battle in the light of day. This forging is not a solitary act of willpower, however. It is a partnership with the divine. The initial impulse to push the covers aside, that first movement of the foot towards the floor, that is your sincere effort, your jihad al-nafs. But the strength that carries you through the prayer, the sweetness you find in the recitation, the profound peace that settles in your heart, that is the divine response, the aid that Allah promises to those who strive in His way. You make the move and He meets you there. This is the secret that the 1% know. The strength they are forging is not entirely their own. It is a borrowed strength, a granted capacity. It is the strength of the one who never sleeps, flowing into the heart of the one who chose to wake for him. So, when they rise to face their day, they do not do so depleted from a lack of sleep, but empowered by a surplus of spirit. They have been forged in the quiet fire of the night, and they carry that inner steel with them into every moment, ready for whatever the world may bring, not with arrogance, but with the humble confidence of a soul that knows its Lord and has been fortified by His grace.